everybody, this is my Lifetime Tamarak kayak. I'm sure you guys all know about the Tamarak. It's just about the cheapest sit on top fishing kayak that you can get. But for the money, it's probably one of the best values out there. I got this one delivered to my door with tax from Walmart for $260. So I'm pretty happy. I didn't get one of those smoking deals that some guys get where it's like $180 or $200, but brand new to my door. I'm pretty happy with it. I've taken it out about 10 times, and so far I'm really loving kayaking. Wasn't quite sure if I'd like it or not, and that's another reason I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on getting into it. One of the great things about kayaks, though, is that you can fish water that doesn't have a boat ramp. One of the problems with that is you're either dragging it, or you got to carry it, or you need a set of wheels. Didn't really like the undercarriage wheels options that are out there. I'm sure they would have worked fine, and I could probably put up with a lot of hassle just just for wheels. But the scupper hole mounts, I had heard horror stories about poking holes through the scupper holes. There's a lot of twisting torque inside that little area, and I didn't want to poke any holes. And the absolute best option on the market right now is obviously the Boondocks landing gear. But if you spend $260 on your kayak, you're probably not going to spend $250 plus on some wheels for it. So me being me, I thought, you know what, I could build that, or I can build something similar to that, and that's what I did. I went down to Home Depot and I got myself some aluminum square tubing, 1 inch by 1 inch. I actually got a 6-foot chunk of it for $19, which was really odd because the 4-foot chunk was $21, but the 6-foot chunk was $2 less. It was really weird, but anyway, 6 foot ended up being a perfect amount. I had some left over, and then I also bought some 1 inch aluminum angle for these. The rest is all made out of EMT conduit, electrical conduit, 3/4 inch. And then to strengthen the joint and how it fits together is, this is 3/4 inch steel tubing. And it fits almost perfectly inside of this 3/4 inch conduit. There's a little bit of play, and that's why I have this electrical tape as a bushing. About 5 wraps on there, and it fits in there nice and tight. And that takes out a lot of the wiggle. Not that the wiggle was even a problem, but I just didn't want, there's already going to be some pulling on this every stroke and every time you rock on it. So if this was wiggling a lot, it would have been a pain in the butt. But that electrical tape just took care of that. I will give you guys a close-up on the wheel system itself and the rack. Okay, so here's I'll just kind of go over each piece. We'll start with the pontoon since it's here closest to my face in the camera. Pretty much did the pontoons just like everybody else, except for that the internals are PVC pipe, 1 inch PVC pipe with 3/4 inch that goes through the holes. But I did carve out a piece for the T fitting that's in there so that I could bring the pontoons together. When you leave that great big gap between the two pontoons, you get a lot of water resistance in that gap, and I just wanted to eliminate that. Now that I've got this all figured out and it seems to be working, I'm going to glue the two foam pieces together with some spray foam insulation that should glue it together and fill in all the gaps around all the pipe. And then I'm also going to fill the PVC pipe with that spray and foam insulation, and that'll keep water from getting in there and getting yucky or anything. The pontoons, after I had it out yesterday, they are sitting a little bit low in the water, so I'm going to raise them up. That PVC pipe right there, I'm going to cut like 2 inches off of that and bring that back up and then reattach it, and that should be perfect. I was getting a lot of water resistance because it was too low in the water. I want them barely to touch, just so that when it's rocking side to side, they stop you from rocking. I mean, you guys know how they work. But when they're sitting down in the water and you're trying to paddle, you're creating resistance for yourself. I actually thought I made them too wide. I thought it was being a little like overcautious. I put them on the back of the rack and really wide, and I paddled all day long, and I actually touched the tip about 5 times. I mean, it's probably just me like having bad form and reaching too far back with my oar, with my paddle. But it did touch like 5 times, so it's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure how that's not mentioned more often. I mean, the ones where they attach them right here at the rod holders and they go out, I don't know how those guys are paddling their kayaks. It looks like they'd be, you know, smacking into that every stroke. But I don't know. I didn't build that the way they did. So here's the rack. The main reason this all works is, I mean, I know I didn't spend a lot on my kayak, but I didn't want to go poking a bunch of holes in it to mount this stuff, especially since I was kind of experimenting and inventing as I went. So what I did is I just used the existing holes that were for the bungee system. This should work. A similar system could work for any kayak really that has, I mean, everyone I've ever seen has a bungee system in the tank well in the back. So I mean, obviously the dimensions will all be different, but this same system could pretty much be used for those. The great thing about this is I can mount any kind of accessory on that I want. I'm going to put the bungees back on. I'm just going to attach them to the top of this angle here, so that'll still hold my fishing crate. Fishing crate still fits inside there perfectly. There's plenty of room on the sides. So I'm actually thinking about putting some bars that go straight back and either mounting a skeg to keep my, you know, the back end from fishtailing too much, or if I can swing it, I might try and find some kind of a cheap trolling motor solution to put on there. That sounds pretty fun to me, and I'm always trying to tinker with stuff. So if I can make that work, that would be awesome too. And it should mount right to this. A nice thing about this rack system is it spreads out the weight and the torque across a bigger area. Like if I was going to use a Scotty mount on this wheel system and you put that much torque on the end of that arm, it's going to put all of that pressure right here on this thin plastic. Even if you put a backing plate on it, I mean, that's still just trying to twist a whole bunch of pressure right there. Well, this, I mean, you're putting downward pressure here, but your upward pressure is way out here. So I mean, that you're spreading that whole load out quite a ways. And mentioning that, there is a ton of torque on this arm. These are some wheels off of an old lawnmower that broke down, but the wheels were still fine. So I used those, and then I used, you know, a heavy, high-grade bolt for the axle. And inside of here is another piece of that 3/4 inch pipe. So it's up inside there, and I drill a hole through both. So all of the pressure that's on this wheel is on both of those. So it shouldn't bend the conduit or tweak it at all. I mean, there's a lot of reinforcement in there. But this arm, from the top of that curve to the bottom of the wheel, it's about 22 inches. So if you can imagine, all of the weight of the kayak and your gear is on the end of a 22-inch bar. I mean, that twisting force, that torque on this tiny joint is quite a bit. This bar here is actually my second one. The first time I tried to just use these little U-bolts, no way it was going to hold. So I ended up having to put these bolts through this pipe into this bar, clamp it down in 3 spots. Went ahead and threw these U-bolts back on just for extra, and then these clips here hold it in. And how you use it, I mean, you just, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Pop that out, and then you can just spin the arm back up. And then I drilled another hole so that pin can just go back down in there. Just like that. So then while you're out on the water, that's how it rides. So that works out great. Doesn't get in the way of any paddling, any accessories. My anchor trolley on the other side still works fine. Wasn't in the way at all. I guess that's pretty much it. The back bar that the pontoons mount into. It mounts exactly the same way. They're loaded up they're mounted the same way. So I should, if I drilled the holes correctly, or if you want to make your own, drill the holes exactly the same, and then you can move your wheels back to the back and your pontoons forward, or whatever you want. Anyway, I think that's everything. If you guys have any questions, or better yet, suggestions, leave me a comment. I'll either try and answer them in the comment section, or I'll make another video. I'm going to take this all apart and paint everything. I didn't use any stainless hardware. I had these stainless eye bolts, so those are stainless, but these bolts and these U's and this is all galvanized, so it should be fine, or zinc coated. But I need to take it all apart and paint it. So when I do that, if I get a lot of response on this video, maybe I'll do a video of how I put it all back together, so you guys can see each individual piece as I take it apart and paint it, put it back together. Got to try and rust proof it as best I can, because stainless hardware is just really expensive. So painting it, if I can get a few years out of it before I have to replace the hardware, I'd be happy with that. The EMT pipe conduit, super cheap. I think the whole 10-foot bar of it is like, so it's like less than $7, I think. I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure it was. And one 10-foot stick did all of it. I still have plenty left over too, I think. This aluminum, or this 1" by 1" aluminum square tube, I got a 6-foot stick of it for $20. This 1" by 1" angle was, I think it was $10 for a 4-foot stick of it. Then that 3/4 inch steel pipe that's inside, that was a 2-foot piece and I think that was about $10. So you can see it kind of adds up, but it's still, for everything that you're getting, it's still way cheaper than any of the pre-made solutions, and you get to do it yourself, so that's always fun. Anyway, I'm rambling on. You guys let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try and get back to you.